Welcome to Chadderbox. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your exes, because this is Chadderbox Bitch. Today, we are cracking one of the most wildest conspiracies out there, the true story of a filmmaker that was on the CIA hit list, Bart Sibrel, the Moon Man. He's the guy who, one of the first people who actually really questioned the government and said that the moon landings were staged. He was punched by Buzz Aldrin in the face on camera, and I'm actually going to be inserting a clip into this, so hold on to your seats, bitches. He also claims to have tapes of being threatened with his life, CIA death plots, and the names of people behind it. So in this episode, you're going to be riding shotgun as we talk about Bart Sibrel's, moon landing conspiracies and the footage that is the smoking gun, the assassination plots against his life, and we're going to talk about the Cold War cover-up that he says is bigger than what Watergate was. So we are going to unpack one of the biggest claims in history, the evidence and the lack of evidence, and what scientists have to say about it, all with our signature Chadderbox mix of energy and what the fuck moments. So, so buckle up. We're about to blast off, or are we? But before we do, let's give a little life update, okay? It's been a minute. Obviously, you haven't been seeing, weekly episodes from us for a reason. So let's get into that really quick. So we're gonna do a little chatter sesh before we get into it. So, Kiki, what is going on in your in your universe?
Nothing, just enjoying my phone, seeing my friends.
What about your Greece trip? Tell me about that.
I've been waiting to hear about it. It was really fun. I wish I would have talked to you sooner. I thought fresh in my brain. Been almost a month. A lot of cats. There's a lot of cats.
Oh, yeah.
Very friendly everywhere. Greece is known for cats. What area did you go to?
Mykonos and Naxos.
Okay.
I remember Mykonos.
Mykonos?
Mykonos.
Yeah. So you say it.
Is that not how you say it?
No, I just Mykonos. You said like that's how it would sound if you had an accent, but you still add the Mykonos.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like Mykonos is how like an American was like Mykonos would be like.
Oh, that's interesting.
You get what I'm saying? But you're like Mykonos, and you say American.
Oh well.
You get what I'm saying though? And you have the accent, but you didn't say it with the accent. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I know because I thought it was Mykonos, but it's Mykonos.
No, I mean that's cool. I mean you've been there, so I wouldn't know.
But you say like that's how they would say it. Bathrooms are different. Food, tipping culture, everything that you've heard is true. Okay. Like you don't tip really. It's rude. Like it's weird. And
wow.
if you want, I mean, like maybe your change. Because like you love to for change, but like
interesting.
Like I've always heard tipping culture isn't a thing, and it's not really a thing. You just get what you pay for, and you're not expected to pay $1 tip at Dunkin' Donuts because they're doing their job. Like,
yeah.
Like, why are you asking me for a tip when you make me a coffee? You're not serving me, really. You're just...
That's so smart. Like, sometimes I feel pressure to tip. Why do I do that?
That's so stupid. Like, the servers and stuff they deserve it. Like, they're serving you. They're checking on you. This person, you're online, and they're just getting paid to do that order. I don't know.
No, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I've never thought about it like that.
You've never heard of tipping culture?
No, I mean,
I kind of have heard.
I've thought about it, but I've never
said
really...
like Europe tipping culture. It's not the same. Like it's rude. Like you don't think I get paid enough? Why are you tipping?
That's cool.
So and then if you want to be served, it's like I've literally seen videos where they've done these like American versus Europe, and it's so true. Literally, if you want to be served, you have to call them over. You don't just wait.
Yeah,
and would be waiting for a fucking while, and we felt rude because here in America, if you call someone over, it's like wait till I come to you.
Yeah.
You'll be sitting there till you.
Interesting. I had no idea.
Me and him fucking just would sit there at some restaurants because we didn't He's not used to it. But eventually I'd be like,
That's cool, though.
every road in Greece was so tiny. Like if you were to drive your car or even my car, it would be too big. You need the little mini cars to get around, like street parking, like little tiny Fiats type shit. Yeah, like that's small, but all the cars there are different. They're not the same models here. They're different brands. But they're the size of, like, Trapper's Son, that would be the biggest car you'd probably see people driving.
Very cool.
Like long lines. The roads don't have like lines. The main roads. Like ours, they don't have highways on the island, obviously. I don't think they have highways on any island.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-lane type thing. No. There's no line, so you kind of you'll be in the back country, but it's a main road. So you'll be going to a field of like tall bushes, but it's a road.
That's cool.
It's different. For parking at the beaches, you don't have to pay and you just pull up in the sand and go.
Nice.
Like they don't fucking charge you here like America. Everything, any way to charge you money. All the parking lots there were municipal and they were free. You don't have to pay for it. I just feel like America wants to get the most out of you. And it was affordable. Like, if you're going to go to somewhere nice here, it's going to be the same there. Like, if not anymore. I wouldn't say it's, like, less either.
Awesome.
But you lose your value and your dollar there when you go to Europe. If I were to get $85 or, like, 100 in euro, I'd get, like, $75 or something.
Oh,
you lose, like, 20-something, $30.
Yeah, because the value of the dollar is just
plummeting. That's different. Everybody was really nice. It's been so far away. I forget everything. There's nudist beaches. We didn't go to those. I avoided them.
Oh, damn.
It was like, you should go. I'm like, yeah, so I can see some old balls.
Damn.
Yeah, the bathrooms. You walk into a door. Women on left, men on right. The middle's the sink. So in a sense, you are sharing it. The bathrooms are obnoxiously big. In Europe, all their buildings are small. They don't have room for a big bathroom. You would be like, well, where's the bathroom? There's no way there's one in this building. Oh, there is.
That's cool.
Oh, there is. It's just tiny. Yeah. Everything is just old fashioned and I like it better than here. America is annoying. That's what America's about, right? It's big. Industrialized. Like, that's what we're known for. I guess people like that shit. Like, main highways, paved, stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I would like it more simpler.
I'm over it. I would like to leave America, especially after some shit that I found out, not just about the moon landing, but about some other shit that we are going to talk about within the next coming weeks. So this season is going to be insane. We have so much more to get into, but that is really awesome.
I think it basically just ignited our passion to do Europe more. And it's like, just like with Hawaii, once I go once, it just feels fire. Yeah, and the flight wasn't bad. It didn't take long at all. They served us 2 meals.
Nice.
In the flight. The airports were different. I mean, everything about the airports were different.
Yeah.
Just even the sinks and the dryers and the toilets, the bidets,
the booties.
Didn't even know how to use it in one of my hotels. And then there's sea taxis inside the regular taxis. You take like a $2 taxi to cross to the other town instead of taking a car because it'd take longer. Yeah, they have little sea taxis. And then ferries that take you to other islands. And people don't leave our deodorant out there as much as you'd think. Some people smoke their bill. A lot of people fucking steak.
Oh, shit. That's new.
I've never heard Europeans, like, no. Like, it's like a thing. Like, people, like, go natural there.
There's like that rock deodorant.
No, it's like they don't wear any.
Oh my god, that's
like
crazy.
Someone walked by and I'm like, I was in the ferry and there was a man working there changing out the toilet paper in the bathrooms and just cleaning up. You'd think a woman would come in the woman's bathroom and clean up. No, this man was going back in the men's, back in the woman's, and like attending to it. And he was making the whole place and fumigate with fucking BO.
Oh my god.
Like, I'm mad at anybody. You don't wear deodorant, but holy fuck, I just wish I was used to the fucking smell. That's literally what we're all meant to smell like if we didn't have deodorant. The reality is that's natural. Everybody has this, like a
body odor, yes, but I cannot.
But we're so accustomed. Imagine if you were back in the day when you didn't have deodorant, it was a thing, you didn't even know what it was, you're just used to that. You would get used to it.
I guess that's true.
It's like someone living in a house that has ammonia in it.
It's just different culture.
Eventually, you don't notice that your house smells like cat pee. You be around all these people that smell with BO and hormones. You just don't notice it after a while.
That's cool, though. Very interesting.
Those are some things that I learned, but I kind of already knew.
Kyla went to Greece about a month ago, and then you've just been here hanging out for the other weeks.
Yeah, just seeing my friends. I have a wedding next weekend.
Where at?
Somewhere around here.
Cool.
I'm not in it, I'm invited to it. And then I've seen my friends yesterday and my family. And just been hanging out, working. Waiting to my next trip next month. Which isn't really pegged to me. It's only 2 days.
Well, I have been gone every fucking weekend this month. I'm exhausted. I'm not kidding. I'm going to be out of town next weekend as well. We went to a festival first week of September. Second week of September, we were at the Gorge for a wedding. Third week of September, we were in the Everglades. This weekend, I just went to a festival. Next weekend, I'm going to fucking Nashville. I'm fucking tired. And honestly, I have realized, though, that next year for my vacations, one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to plan my shit around the weekends so I can just take off Friday, Saturday, and Tuesday.
Why haven't you been doing that?
Because,
You should take after me. That's what I do.
well,
Let's do Monday through Friday and waste all my PTO. Well, a lot of people do.
I'm Tuesday through Saturday, though. But I do want to use I've had literally every weekend off this month from work. And it has been so nice. And I'm just like, what if I just did this every other month? Like, just had like a 4-day weekend where I can go somewhere.
I think it's better to just take off the weekends, but
I'm most definitely going to do that to utilize my vacation time more because I want to go to Salem with her next year. I'm also trying to make 2 other trips work if we can. We've decided that we're going to be moving. We're not going to be moving out of this area, but we are going to be selling our house within the next 2 years, if possible, because we're not millionaires and we cannot keep dumping money into a house that is going to be 100 years old in 2030. So it's just more financially better for us to cut our losses and move to a nicer house so we don't have to keep pouring money into the house and then we can truly start saving money. Like, you can't save money if shit keeps breaking at the house because your house is old. So that's my current life update situation and kindness. So we are going to talk more about, just like Chadderbox shit at the end. But for now, let's get into the moon landing because we have a lot to cover. This is one of the most interesting stories that I have ever read. I'm still blown away by this book. I'm going to be reading it again. So without further ado, let's do it. So let's talk about the major claims that Bart Sibrel makes, how he frames them, and I'm also going to get into the entire story of what happened to him. This was like his autobiography type thing. It's one of the most interesting stories that I have ever read, and I cannot wait to tell it to you. Let's get into some of the central allegations first, so then you kind of know about this dude a little bit. Bart claims that the real Apollo project in 1969 had a CIA code name and basically fronts that the moon landing was a deception on behalf of the US's pride because Kennedy said in live television, or maybe it was just broadcasted television, but he said, "We will go to the moon." You remember that?
I think so.
Because he's like, we do the hard things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. He made this pledge to the American people that we're going to go to the moon. Bart Sibrel claims that when he found out there's no way they could have gone to the moon, and then Kennedy was, pew-pewed assassinated. So it was Lyndon B. Johnson took over after Kennedy's assassination. But what the public doesn't know is that Lyndon B. Johnson was a CIA operative. And CIA operatives actually, according to Bart Sibrel, are all over the USA, all over the world. Apparently, this is how he frames it. He said, as many Starbucks as you see in your town, there are fake businesses of people tapping into phone lines, tapping into your internet connection. There are literally fake businesses allegedly, according to
For
Bart,
money laundering.
for money laundering, but also for spying on the people, because there were multiple instances of Bart trying to contact his friends and let them know, like, hey, I am in trouble. And then phone lines disconnected. No internet connection anymore. His car, multiple vehicles of his died as if somebody just flipped a switch and all the gas leaked out. Like,
Well, they must have done something to the car.
I mean, that, or because he borrowed a friend's car because his other car he had to abandon on the side of the road. Borrowed a friend's car, and then he went to a gas station and the engine died and all the gas leaked out of the vehicle. He had borrowed a friend's car to covertly get to,
It's like, but
like,
how does that even possible?
you don't think that the military has, like, things to make your car just turn off like that?
Maybe newer cars, but not older ones. How do they have control? Maybe newer cars, like my car. I think I'd be fine.
I mean, this was in, like, early 2000s when this was happening, so this was not recent.
I just feel like they had to mess with the car. I mean, I'm interested in hearing it, but I never thought there was no connection to be able to just turn a car off unless it was a smart car.
If you're being followed, there is something, if you have a really strong magnet, like a really strong magnet, you can really fuck with somebody's car with this much metal is in that car. So if you are being followed and you have somebody who has maybe just, this is a theory of mine as I was reading this book, if you have a massive magnet and you are driving in front of or next to another car, you can really fuck up their car.
But it would like pull gas out?
I mean, it could just pull so many things out of, it can like dislodge. It can also, it's like, this is actually like a military weapon, like these giant magnets. And these giant magnets are used for so much, like there's so much that can go into weapons with magnets you would not believe. The military has the most powerful magnets out there. And they say that those magnets can be used as anti-gravity. Like if you have that giant magnet and almost like a vortex, like an air vortex type thing, they say that's how you create vehicles that can lift off the ground. Isn't that interesting?
I mean, I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I've seen the big magnets on movies or cartoons. So I'm
Yeah, the giant like Roadrunner, like just.
uh,
Well, Bart alleges that he has privately recorded audio in which the Apollo astronauts were actually not en route to the moon. They were in the Earth's atmosphere, and there was a CIA operative telling them when to speak, because in 1969, there was supposed to be a radio delay, because when you're in space, it, especially in 1969, it takes a few seconds for your radio signal to connect to the Earth. There was somebody in the CIA who was cueing them, okay, you're good now. Go ahead. I'm just talking about the descriptions first, and then we're going to get into it. And actually, this is just the last thing, because we just want to get into it. Sibrel asserts that the moon landing was entirely fake, and let's talk about it. I had to take notes as I was listening to this audiobook. One of the most amazing stories I've ever read. Whether it's true or not, it's a really well-written story. Bart Sibrel grew up. He knew about the moon landing. He had pictures of the moon landing in his room growing up. He actually said that the night of the broadcasting of the moon landing, his mom sent him to bed because his bedtime was like 7:30 p.m. or some shit like that. So he was just like, my mom sent me to bed while the whole family watched the moon landing outside of me. He's like, I was like 6 or 7 or something at the time. When he woke up, everybody at school was talking about the moon landing, and he was like, I eventually got pictures of it, like posters, and I had posters of it in my room. And he said it really inspired him. So he went to college for filmography and was working as an NBC News affiliate to create a documentary of the moon landing. During this time, he was working with producers and filmmakers. He was requesting for NASA to send him unedited original footage of the moon launch. Not the landing, just the launch. Every time NASA would send him a file, It was always like one of those videos that you would play at a museum where like a bunch of kids would be. Like it had like voiceovers, it was edited, it was like clipped. And he was like, he said that he requested countless times, please give me the unedited footage. I do not want this bullshit. Like, I don't need this. And finally, after countless times of asking, he was actually sent an original video, unedited, which gave him the smoking gun, which made him realize that the moon landing was not as they depicted it. They sent him unedited video of the view of the Earth several hundred miles up into the Earth's atmosphere. They had put a different kind of lens on the camera, and this kind of like fish lens was supposed to make it look like the Earth was way further away than it actually was. So there was also a person on a microphone cueing them when to speak. He claims this was a CIA operative who was saying, okay, good, go, you're good. And the video ends with end scene. When would you say end scene? If you were fucking filming.
Why did they send it, though? If they had that in there, they would have checked it 1,000 times. How would they miss that?
So apparently the file was mislabeled. The file said that it was edited. Somebody in NASA was messing around with this video, and whether on purpose or not, but that the video was edited.
Huh. It doesn't make sense if they were so peculiar about it the whole time.
So it gets even stranger. This is like...
It's something that's fucking joke.
It's fucking insane. Once he had the smoking gun, according to him, that the moon landing was allegedly a fraud. He then went to a church meeting with the members of his church. He was a part of this church at the time. And they rented out a high school, like, gymnasium, like, auditorium type thing. And they all talked about the significance of this classified information. After leaving the meeting with these church members, he and one other person was the last people to leave. As he left, there was a car that pulled out of a nearby parking lot as soon as he pulled out of his parking lot. And he said, immediately, I had the feeling like I was being followed. Shortly thereafter, he then started making copies of the film, and multiple copies, and hiding them around different places in his town, because he was like, if this is what I got and they come after me for it, then I should cover my ass.
They realized that they gave him the wrong one.
Oh, they realized.
Because he hadn't done anything about it yet.
Well, this is the thing. Phones were around at the time, and he assumes that either somebody from the church tipped them off, or, they're listening to us. Even if this is in the early 2000s, even if this was very primitive surveillance technology, regardless, this started literally shortly after. Maybe NASA realized that they fucked up shortly after they sent it to him.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Like, I wonder
what tipped the CIA off. But he started copying the film, hiding it in different places around town so he would have multiple copies of his own in case he was blackmailed or they tried to forcibly take it from him. And once he talked to some of his producers over the phone, he realized that his phone was being tapped, his regular phone. He said that when he called his producer for the first time trying to tell him what happened, he heard a sharp sound that sounded like a microphone was turned on. So he hangs up, goes and gets a burner phone, calls said producers again, and literally just says, he was like, the moon landing was fake. They faked this shit. They faked it. And the guy was like, what? How do you have this information? What are you talking about? And he was just like, I know that they faked the moon landing. He's like, I know about it. And he's like, that's basically how the whole conversation went. So, him and his producer realizes that him and his producer realize that his life was about to be threatened majorly. And this happened as a man was following him home from that church service. He said that, this is the way he described it. He said, have you ever looked at a shark in their eyes and they're just like black and soulless? He said that this guy who was following him was keeping an eye on him. He looked like he could not give a fuck if I lived or died, that he could kill me on the spot and he would just go home to his family and act like nothing happened. He's like, he looked like an ex-military operative. He said that this guy was following him home. He realized that his life was in danger. He then decides, after talking to some of his producers again, after his phone being tapped and after being followed, he decides to drive to CNN with this information and tell them everything. He decided, instead of using his own vehicle, because he couldn't use his own vehicle, as he was looking over at the guy who was following him, they made eye contact multiple times. And he said that all of a sudden, his car just died, stalled immediately. He said they were driving next to each other. He said his car stalled, all of the gas leaked out, and it was almost as if somebody flipped a switch and his car just turned off. And it was after he had made eye contact with this driver nearby. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's creepy.
He's like, it's almost like somebody from like, from like fucking Dexter's Laboratory was just like, car off. So he then decides to flag a taxi and go to CNN because obviously he couldn't use his own vehicle. He didn't have one. Once he got into the vehicle, which, by the way, when he was trying to flag down a taxi and he was like being really frantic, he was like, hey, hey, hey. Nobody was pulling over for him. People were like, what the fuck? This guy's in trouble. I don't want to help this guy. So he finally gets a taxi to help him. Once he's in the vehicle, the taxi driver was like, are you in some trouble or something? He tells him everything. He says, I have information. I'm taking it to CNN right now, and I'm going to expose the government for faking the moon landing. And this taxi driver was all on board with it. He was just like, all right, then let's go. He was not scared at all. He was like, let's do it. I'm with you.
Telling everybody.
So he then called the cops because immediately, as he was trying to flag down a taxi, there were two men in suits walking, trying to get to him. Well, they both jumped into the wrong taxi with a random other guy right in front of him. So he was like, they had the wrong taxi. As he's trying to frantically flag somebody down to help him. He gets in this taxi with this random guy, goes to CNN, calls the cops on the way and says, I am being stalked by two unknown assailants. Please come and help me. I'm going to be at the CNN building. So he doesn't tell them what he has. Well, when he gets there, there's three cops with guns standing in the doorway of CNN, blocking his path. They said, what do you got there? He said it was two older men and one younger cop. He said it obviously looked like a new cop. And he said that the cop in the middle was like, what do you got there? And he said, I have some information that's going to break the world. He said, sure you do. Hand it over. And he said, no. He said, I'm not handing this over, even if my life depends on it. So then the younger cop was like, you're not coming in here trying to act all tough and shit. Finally, he tells all three of them, I don't know what you've been told, but I have information. I have solid proof that the moon landing was faked and that it was filmed and it was staged. And I'm going to walk through those doors and I'm going to show the world. And he said that the oldest cop looked like he could just kill me right then and there. He said the younger cop gave him this look of shock, like he believed him. The other cop on the side wasn't talking at all. The older cop was like trying to like do this whole like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, trying to be really intimidating. And
a cop shouldn't do that. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But He thinks that this is his theory, which I think is so fucking interesting. He said there's as many CIA operatives in your town as there are Starbucks. Alleged bitch, but according to the book. Which, to be honest, I fucking believe him full-heartedly. But he said that he thinks that in every state, in every county, they are monitoring and using the police to do their bidding. They can either blackmail or just lie to the cops. So he said that he thinks that the cops that were told to stop him were told some shit like he has some footage of blackmailing the president that's going to start an insurrection or a civil war. So, a CIA operative can tell the cops anything and they'll believe it because they want to serve their country. So he could just say some wild shit, be like, yeah, this guy's going to try to start a civil war with this footage, but they don't tell him what it actually is. And that's also what the CIA does. The CIA is super good at blackmailing people and also poisoning and kidnapping people.
I mean, look at Tom Cruise in his movie. Like, all those movies, the reason why he was in it was because he was blackmailed into, he didn't kill anybody, and then he's like, they're like, either work for us or Mission Impossible. And they make him do all the dirty bits.
It's all subliminal messaging, those types of movies. The CIA is in charge of the entertainment industry, obviously, because why would we get all of these movies about AI ending all of us, or, other things such as what she was just talking about with Mission Impossible? Why else would we be getting plots like this if they weren't, in some way, shape, or form, maybe inspired by true shit? Just my take on it. But 3 cops blocking his path, he told them, I have information that's going to expose the government and the CIA as liars and frauds, and this is going to very publicly embarrass them. He was then in front of CNN. Mind you, there were actually people outside eating lunch. People who working at CNN were outside on the steps eating lunch nearby, looking over like, what the fuck? He was then forced by the cops into a back of a vehicle, where they then slapped a bracelet on his wrist. And this bracelet had an unknown serum on it. The story gets so crazy. When he got to the location after profusely vomiting the entire way in the vehicle, windows closed, sick as fuck, he said it was almost an hour of him profusely vomiting. Immediately when they got to the building, he started telling these people everything about his life, about what he found, about where he hid the tapes, about what he thought about it, about his family, about everything growing up. He said he believes he was given a truth serum that was made by the MK Ultra project. He said that shit absorbed into his bloodstream through his skin when they slapped that bracelet.
Your body's a pore. You absorb everything. You absorb perfume. I mean, honestly, all that stuff's really bad for us.
Yeah.
All the chemicals. Your body is a pore.
That's why I get organic lotions.
They don't even matter. They can still lie to you.
Regardless, yeah.
Like, literally, I learned not to eat them because they say, oh, free of this. Motherfuckers don't have to tell you.
It is
so
true.
Basically, make it. You just gotta go get to the wood, chop the fucking wood, and mix the paste.
Well, actually, I'm gonna spoil it. Super random. I'm gonna spoil it for you, but I'm actually about to make soap. And I'm gonna make it as Christmas gifts, so I'm gonna give you some. I've made soap before. I made it as a kid a few times when I lived in St. Louis. There's a lot of homemakers who make their own soaps out there. And
you're not gonna buy the pre-soap at the store?
Well, I'm gonna make like soap bars and gift my friends for Christmas.
I did that last year.
Homemade soaps. I want to make them in cute little shapes, like pumpkins and little trees.
Did I give you one last year?
I think so.
One? Yeah.
I want to do it more. It's so much better for you because you know what you're putting in your own soap, And it's just a great gift all around because everybody fucking uses soap.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a human being, you should be using some fucking soap, okay? But, Chadderbox tangent. So, After he is slapped on the wrist, tells them everything. He actually said that at some point during the whole thing, he starts not even knowing what he's telling them anymore. Because he was just like, my mind was just gone. He's like, I felt like I was on like, well, he didn't describe it like this, but like, this is how I kind of took it. Like he was on like a insane amount of psychedelics, but he wasn't hallucinating. He felt it, but he wasn't seeing any visuals or anything. So imagine taking an entire sheet of acid. Not that I've ever done that before. I swear to God, I've never taken a whole sheet of acid. That's like 120 little. So, anyways, and I am getting red. Okay, so he said that he was very confused. He did not remember everything that he told them because after vomiting so profusely, you know, after vomiting so much, you typically don't feel at your greatest to remember everything that you're doing. He was then, after telling them everything, taken to a mental institution. He memorized these secret AT&T codes to make encrypted phone calls. But he did not know that encrypted phone calls are actually monitored by the CIA. When you think your phone call is safe when you're doing these codes, those are the ones that are monitored the most. And you know how he knows that? Is when he was in this mental institution, he was told by the nurse that day, he said, when can I leave? She said, you'll be here for approximately 10 days. He said, okay. And he's like, can I just make one phone call to a family member? And then she said, sure. So he goes to make this phone call, remembers these emergency codes to make the encrypted phone calls. He immediately contacts his friend and also producer of the film that he was making, which, by the way, just as a side note, he does have a ex-wife and 2-year-old son at the time. He was about like 34 years old for reference. He said that as he was talking to the producer, because he trusted the producer more than his ex-wife, he told this producer, you know, I've been kidnapped, I've been drugged, they took the tapes, they know where all the tapes are. I just can't believe this is fucking happening. He's freaking out. He said his producer started laughing. He said, I can't believe this. This is real life? He said, I can't believe this is happening to you right now. He's like, where are you? I'm going to come pick you up. The phone line immediately disconnects. The nurse comes around the corner, not the nice nurse who said, yeah, the phone's over here. There was a nice nurse and a not nice nurse. The not nice nurse turns the corner and goes, what are you doing? He said, I'm making my phone call like I was told that I could. And she goes, you're being transferred to another facility within the next 10 minutes. He goes, I thought that I was supposed to be here for the next 10 days. What's going on? And then she goes, it's none of your business. So then he's sent back to his room. The nice nurse comes back in and he goes, why am I being sent to another facility? She said, oh, there's a new doctor on staff. He said that he wanted to transfer you immediately. He didn't say any reason why. So instead of being transferred in like an ambulance or a medical vehicle, he's thrown into the back of a van. Just him and this guy. And as he's being transferred, he said that the guy who was taking him there looked like an ex-Marine. He had the haircut. He had that look like he didn't give a fuck if you lived or died. He just gave that vibe. You know how Marines have that vibe where they're really strong and have this aura. And he said that when he was asking this guy questions like, where are you taking me? What are you doing? What's happening? This guy wouldn't even look in his direction or respond. Nothing. So he was like, again, it was almost like that scenario when I was looking over at that guy when my vehicle died. He had that same look like he could fucking kill me.
It's probably MK Ultra. They're all mind controlled.
I mean, honestly, I feel like, especially military people, I can't relate on like saying that I have been through this, but I do understand psychology. And if you are killing motherfuckers on the regular for your job, it desensitizes you in your brain towards killing in general. That's how serial killers are born. So especially ex-military, if you have killed a lot of people.
When you excommunicado.
Yeah. Damn. And he was then transferred to this high security mental facility where there was barbed wire fencing. It looked like a place for people that was like criminally insane. As he was being led into the facility, there were these long corridor like fences and walkways, and there was also a courtyard type deal. Well, while he was walking with the guy, the first guy, he was asking all these questions like, how long am I going to be here? What's happening? Where am I? What is this place? What are they going to do to me? The guy literally didn't respond to any of his questions until the very end, after he's like spewing out all these questions as they're walking. And he just goes, I don't know. I'm just doing my job. And he was like, then let me do my job. And he goes, and what is that? And he then sees the little divot for the courtyard. Mind you, this is like very late at night. He said that the moon was up in the sky, so it was definitely after like 9 p.m. because this is like the summertime. I think end of June or early July. And he makes a bolt for this courtyard, jumps the fence, over the barbed wire, falls on his face and his back. And then there's this big hill that leads down into a ravine. He said the guy chased him, but he didn't climb the fence. This guy was just fucking over it. He was just like, he's like, I'm fucking over this shit. Like, whatever. He was like, he said that the guy already seemed irritated as soon as they got into each other's company. So he was already like agitated about something. And he said this is the middle of the night. He's running down this ravine, cutting himself all over his body with thick brush, thorn bushes, and trees in a densely wooded area outside of this mental facility. Again, for reference, he was 34 years old. He had a 2-year-old son, and he said if he did not escape when he did, he knew that his son would grow up without a father. He said that the only way he knew how to get out of there was to follow the moon. And he said that it's so comical to say that. Like, how did you escape? What did you do? He said, I couldn't see anything. I didn't have a flashlight. I just followed the moon. And he said in his book that this is not a verbatim quote, but it's very close. He said, this was the first time in his life that he had felt this close to God. And he said, not in an apocalyptic way, but in a full of joy and purposeful way. I was living in a clear conscience, knowing that I was doing the right thing. And he said that is what ultimately led me to survive the ordeal. He survived for several days off creek water and leaves. Bro was eating leaves.
You must want to eat nothing, dude.
Yeah.
Making him afraid he was going longer than eating than that.
So he then found a gas station, and he said the gas station had a fish symbol on it. He also went to a Christian church, so he said, how comical that I'm going to a gas station that has the Christian fish symbol sign. And he said that the gas station let them use their phone to call for help. He called a friend who was nearby because he was like, where am I? And they said he was outside of Atlanta. When he was taken to the first facility where he was throwing up and stuff, he said it felt like an hour. He said that was a 6-hour car ride. And he said it felt like an hour. It like time distorts you. Isn't that crazy?
I believe it.
The truth serum. He didn't realize he was 6 hours away from home. So then he calls another friend in Atlanta and they agreed to drive him back. Before they drove him back, the gas station was actually giving him as much snacks and water as he wanted. And they also thought if he was a jail escapee, they looked him up in the multiple county jails around and there was no record of him. So then it gets even stranger. When his friend picks him up, they said, you look like you've been to hell and back and that you have been flogged by the ancient Romans. He had bruises and cuts all over his body. With as much food and water as they gave him in Atlanta, he was still very malnourished from the time he had spent in the mental facility because he wasn't fed. And
Crazy.
he said that he realized on the drive home that the more he tried to fight the CIA, the more he realized that he was a one-man band fighting an army of people who wanted to kill him. When he got home, he researched all the hospitals that he was staying in, like nearby and in Atlanta. And he said there was no record of him staying there. He said that he urinated in a cup shortly after he got home. And he talked to a friend and asked them to send it off to a lab for him. So he was like, I don't want my name on it. So he was like, can you send my urine sample to a lab? This friend sent the sample to a trusted lab. That lab, that very evening, had a break-in. And they called him the next morning and told him that the only thing that was stolen was his urine sample and the record of it.
Isn't that crazy? They don't want to see what the head gave him.
They don't want to know what fucking compounds are in there. The lab would have been like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this compound?
Yeah.
So he said at that point, after he got off of the phone with this lab, he said, I felt like I was living in a movie and that I was the star. He said, but the most comical thing is that this is real life. He said, this is my real life. This is not something I just made up. He was like, why do I have any reason to lie? They've already tried to kill me, which is what makes me believe him even more. Like, they've already tried to end his life. He writes this book anyway. Like, what a strong motherfucker.
When did he come out with it?
Let's see. I don't know the year that he came out with Moon Man.
So how long is it?
It's about 200 pages.
He wrote all about the situation?
Yes, so like this is like his account or whatever.
So, but like, why isn't it known?
Because why would the government want you to know what he wrote? I didn't know about this book until I was researching. This book actually just came out September 11th, 2021.
Who made it? It wasn't him.
Yes, it was. It was Bart Sibrel.
What is he?
He's old.
So he don't care if he dies now at this point.
He is 60 years old. Born in 1964. So he was about 5 or 6 years old when the moon landing was filmed. So sorry I said it earlier. He was about 7 or ish, whatever. I was close. He was a kid.
With my ADHD.
Yeah. I fucking love it though. It helps calm my ass down. Like I'm just like,
The sativa calms me.
interesting. Because it's a stimulant.
Yeah, and I flirty.
Interesting. I never thought about it like that.
I like sativas and hybrids.
I never thought about it like that.
I mean, that's why I would get given Adderall. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
so it would kind of counteract.
Mellow you out. That's why, I mean, I take it.
my mind.
I take it, and to be honest, it's helped me so much. Sorry, back to the thing.
Especially colon. Chip top on the block. I want to eat. Lock.
So,
That was me.
so he said that he felt like he was the star of a movie that was being filmed about him. And this was after the incident with his urine sample being stolen from the lab in a very strange coincidence. Coinciding. He writes in his book a quote, "It is easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled." And that is a quote from Mark Twain. It is easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled.
Yeah, it's so true though, because there's a few of us that believe it. Like I said, the things that you think are true probably are, and things that aren't probably true to you are true. In most cases. If you don't think it's possible, it's probably possible. It's hard to convince someone because they think it's so unbelievable.
And that's what this story is. Because so many critics take apart this story, we will get into some of what those critics say. We'll have to make room for that on the next episode. So, back to the story. His first public appearance almost a week after he escaped the mental institution. He went home and rested for a few days, and he decided to make his first public appearance almost a week after he had been taken at a special church service that his church was hosting at a park on July 3rd. He borrowed a friend's car, and on the way there, he had a feeling that there were two white vehicles with blacked out windows following him. He pulls into a gas station, driving the car he was borrowing from his friend. The fluid, as soon as he parked, immediately leaked out and the engine died, just as if a flip had been switched like his other vehicle. And the gas station was a few blocks away from where the park was, where they were having this church service. He said as soon as he makes it to the church service, he starts talking to a friend. His friend notices that this very petite and attractive woman makes a beeline for him from across the room. Or a room. They were outside. From across the lot. This girl walks up to him and she is desperately trying to get him to shake her hand. She's just like, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, trying to really get him to fucking shake her hand. Because she's probably got some shit on it that's going to make him pass out or go insane. And he said, especially after having a wristband slapped on him and then the truth serum and vomiting and all of that stuff from earlier, he said he declined shaking her hand every time she reached out and was just like, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. And he said when she started conversation, she said people from Europe have a slight European accent. No matter how American they want to sound, they will still always have a more nasally way of speaking. He said that's the only way he can describe it. He said people in Europe talk more with their nose than we do. We talk from our throat, but they talk from their nose, if that makes sense.
I have people fuck with that, but I don't know how they do it different than we do. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So he said this woman with a European accent started striking up a conversation saying that she was from the same hometown where he was born and raised in Ohio. He said that she claimed that she went to the same high school as he did. And he was like, I did not fucking know this woman. He said it was almost like she was trying to relate to him so then maybe he would want to shake her hand. I don't know. He said finally, he whispers to his friend and he was like, I'm pretty sure this woman has ill intentions with me. Let's just walk away. So then I made up some excuse like, hey, we gotta go and help set up or some shit, And he goes to the pastor to try to talk to the pastor, because he's been out for almost 2 weeks at this point from church. So, of course, people are wondering where he was, especially because they didn't hear from him for almost 2 weeks after almost the whole church had this big meeting about him having footage of the moon landing being faked. Allegedly. Rolling my eyes. He said, apparently, on the first day that he came back on this special church service, the old pastor was gone. Nowhere to be found. A new pastor was starting that day, very randomly. The elders of the church made it very clear what was happening. They said he is in danger, being followed by the CIA or the police or the men in black. The pastor immediately went to him, looked him in the eyes, and said, you need to be checked into a mental institution immediately. You are not in your right mind.
That's so weird.
Maybe because the pastor was a CIA operative.
I know, but in any situation, there's people around him that would be like, no, he's not. What did he do? The fuck up.
Well, the pastor calls the cops and said that Bart was disrupting this July 4th special service at the park. He said that this guy was mentally insane and he needed to be transferred into a mental institution immediately. He was then wrongfully admitted into another hospital where he was given drugs that made him completely unable to have a conversation. He said that he literally couldn't even form words to speak. They gave him drugs to make him feel like he was floating in space. That's how it felt as he laid in the bed. After several days of just being in this mental institution, not giving any food or water, just an IV and a bunch of drugs to make him not know what was happening, he was then admitted into a different mental hospital. And this other facility had a woman in a wheelchair in the hallway who was not crazy in any way, but she was in a wheelchair and she was right by the door the entire time. He told the nurse, he's trying to have a conversation like, hey, when am I getting out of here? Can I contact my wife? When am I going to see my son? The nurse, who was a male, realizes that this guy is not crazy. He's like, why are you here? And he goes, I was admitted from another hospital. And he goes, did you admit yourself? And he said, no. They said, then why are you here? He's like, you seem fine to me. And then he was just like, I'm in trouble. So he motions for that lady in the hallway and he goes, hey, I'm pretty sure that lady is listening to our conversation. He said that this lady, every time the nurse would talk to her, she would talk in gibberish, almost like in another language. She would just be like, just like making noises and shit. And then when the administrator of the hospital came up and was like, why are you here? Who are you with? She would be like, oh, I'm just waiting for so-and-so. He said she was a fucking paid actor. And he said that she was monitoring every conversation he had. So then finally, he told the nurse, as the lady was listening, that he had been drugged, followed, stalked, beaten, and escaped from other mental hospitals for the last several weeks. And the nurse starts to believe him. So he finally then, unprompted, approaches the woman in the wheelchair from outside the room and said, I am sorry, but you are going to have to leave the doorway of this room. She would respond in a different language or gibberish as if she did not speak English. The nurse finally then signaled for security to escort her out. This is after 2 or 3 days of her doing this. She was there 24 hours a day. She would leave to go to the bathroom, but she was just like in this like wheelchair right outside the room. He said that when security was trying to wheel her out, she came up with this excuse, like she was actually a patient there. Came up with this whole story like, yeah, I'm a patient here. I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that, like just acted totally different. And he said as security was escorting her away from underneath of the wheelchair, they noticed a small black box on the ground. It was a recording device that had a microphone pointed towards the room. He said that the nurse went to a supervisor and showed the supervisor the tape recorder and the microphone. They then, this is actually not allowed, hospitals are not allowed to do this, but they did. He said that the hospital staff started looking up this guy's name, Bart Sibrel. They saw that he was an NBC affiliate. They saw that he had all of these credentials. They then realized, I think this guy's in trouble. Bart realized, I am a filmmaker on the CIA hit list. He said the nurse turned it in to the hospital administrator once he saw that he was an NBC affiliate. By this time, 2 men in black business suits came into the hospital. They looked at him, and he said across the hall you could see the offices. He said these men in black suits looked at him, look at the hospital administrator, and he said that this was at 1 a.m., mind you, when this is happening. The 2 men in black suits pointed at him and ushered the administrator into an office for a private conversation. All of the nurses who were aware of the recording device were then all brought in after about 10 minutes of them talking. For another 15 minutes, the nurse, the administrator, and the 2 men in black suits were all talking. As he's seeing them talk, 2 men in plain street clothes walk into his room and they said, we would like to talk to you. Not here. Somewhere else. And these 2 men took him to the cafeteria while, the administrators being talked to by the men in black. So these guys in plain street clothes, mind you, there's a clue here. One of them had a watch, and that watch had the Marine symbol on the watch. So the strangers took his temperature. One of them said, we do not want you to speak. Let us talk. They confirmed that he was indeed being followed by the CIA the day that he went to the church service. They confirmed that, yes, he was drugged and stopped by the police in front of the CNN building by the CIA. He then says that he cannot divulge everything else that they said to him, but confirmed his suspicions that he was on a hit list. They ended the conversation with, "We are all rooting for you."
So who were those people?
He believes that, yes, there's the CIA, but I think that there's a break-off of the CIA known as the good guys, but they know about the CIA. They know what they do, but they help people in these situations, like save them from, like, you know, being killed off and stuff.
That makes sense. Just like Mission Impossible.
Yeah. But this is also the kicker to the story. He said that while he was in the hospital, you can only be in a mental institution for 10 days. And by the 10th day, you have to be seen by a judge. And that judge has to determine whether or not you are actually criminally insane or just insane.
I don't think it matters though if you're A lot of people will end up with things like that, but their doctors are never there because they're able to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it matters.
He did have a court date. And the court date was supposed to determine if he was truly mentally competent. But the courthouse burned down the day before his court hearing, and he was released. He was sent home, and as soon as he got home, his computer stopped working. And he had no access to Wi-Fi or anything. So his computer stops working. He then calls a computer company, and they said, "We're going to send some guy out to the house." The man was asking him to type in his computer passwords. He said, "I'm not going to do that. You don't need that to fix my computer." He said, "Well, I'm not going to fix your computer if you don't give me these passwords." "All right, well, good luck with that. I'm not going to give them to you." Then he gives him his own laptop and says, "I'm going to connect my laptop to your laptop in order to fix it, but I need you to put your password into my laptop." And he was just like, "No." He's like, "You think I'm a fucking idiot?" So then he steps outside and he's looking out the window as this guy is frantically trying to type in passwords to this guy's computer. He's outside and he has the window cracked just a little bit so he can hear him frantically typing. He calls the computer company and says, "Does this guy really need my passwords to do this job?" And they go, "No, for a fix like that, he's not going to need your computer passwords." And he was like, "Just needed to confirm that. Thank you." He walks in and he was like, "I would like for you to leave my house." And then he was just like, "I thought you wanted me to fix your computer." He was just like, "I think that if I really need somebody to fix my computer, I'm just going to call a more professional company out here." The guy left and he was fucking pissed that he didn't get what he needed and what he wanted.
Because those people, their job didn't get done, so they'll probably get in trouble.
Well, after all of this, many years later,
So they just stop messing with him?
yes,
Kind of to scare him, like to show him what his life would be if he continued to like try to. But he had no proof anymore, so.
because they stolen all of the stuff. And after all of this, many years later, this is actually what Bart is known for all over the world because he became like a meme for a minute or something. There's clips of this online. You can literally look it up. After all of this, many years later, after years of quiet and writing this book and, you know, just very secluded and private life, he decides to then start approaching astronauts and asking them to put their hand on the Bible to swear that they had been to the moon. He said these clips can actually later be used in court as testimonies if they didn't go to the moon. That you can use these in court as in they swore that they went to the moon on the Bible, because you have to swear on the Bible in court, and they did not. So that can and will be used against them in the court of law in the United States. So he approaches many astronauts, and he decides to approach Buzz Aldrin. And instead of acknowledging the falsehood of what he was saying, he said something to the effect of, "Why are you doing this?" And so he wasn't denying the claim that the moon landing was fake, but he was just like, "Why are you doing this? Like, what do you have to gain?"
Why are they faking the moon landing?
Exactly. And it's because they don't want to embarrass themselves. Well, this is the funniest part of the story. I'm going to try to add a clip in here right now. I'm going to try to add a clip in right after that. And when he was asking Buzz Aldrin, and there were people around like, put the cameras down, put the cameras down. And then he was just like, why can't you just swear on the Bible that you went to the moon? Buzz Aldrin then decks him in the face. He said that he didn't even see it coming, and he had a tooth pain in that side of his mouth for 3 years. That's how hard the punch was.
That's crazy.
Buzz Aldrin has actually made several inconsistencies in his stories. I'm just going to point out one. He talks about in multiple interviews about how loud the spacecraft was when they were landing. But you can't hear the exhaust and the fuel in space because space is a vacuum. There's no noise.
Yeah.
So how can you hear the sound? It's just an inconsistency. Why would you say it if it wasn't true, if you were making it up?
That's so funny. That's
So,
oh shit.
this is one of the things people say about the moon landing. They said, how could NASA fake the moon landing when they had so many employees involved? When you have hundreds of employees involved, how can you lie to all of those employees? It's a thought. And then if you speak out against it, maybe you're
Just like celebrities, they all know the fucking dirty, deep shit that goes on, but they don't say nothing for fear.
true. There's also some dismissal about his credibility. They said there's no hard evidence to what he says. They also said that the counter argument is that tens of thousands of people, such as contractors, subcontractors, international tracking, physical artifacts like moon rocks that were brought back, saying that all of this is so vast that extreme secrecy would be very difficult. But to be honest, I always feel like the truth is always the most simplified answer. I think that the more complicated that it gets, like you're just like, you're overcompensating, you're overcomplicating the story. I think that the truth is always very simple. And I feel like the collective consciousness of humanity knows what a truth is and what the lie is. And I just feel like some people are lying to themselves because they don't want to believe.
They don't want the world to be that way, so they'd rather ignore it.
And
That's the reality.
I have this quote from the book, and I'm so glad to end with this. One of the saddest lessons in history is this: if we have been bamboozled and lied to long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we have been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you will almost never get it back. Carl Sagan. What a quote. What a fucking quote, dude. Damn. And there's so much more to this book. I wish that we could cover it, but we are running out of time. Maybe next week or in the following weeks, we could cover some other information that he has on, other blackmailing techniques that the government uses, other inside jobs, such as his take on 9/11, which I thought was super fucking interesting, which RIP to the victims of 9/11 and fuck the government, because you were probably involved, but we don't know. I said probably. And we have one last thing before we go, because that was our deep dive on Bart Sibrel's book, Moon Man. If you want to read this book for yourself, I'm going to link it in the description. So please read this book if you want. It is seriously one of the most fascinating books I have read this year, Hands down, so good. The hidden tapes that are allegedly CIA hit list and everything in between. Whether you believe the Apollo program was the greatest human achievement or the greatest hoax in history, one thing is clear. Stories like this, whether you think the Apollo program was the greatest human achievement or the greatest hoax in history, one thing is clear. Stories like this force us to look twice at the narratives that we are handed, the information that we are given. How much that we see in the media is full truth? How much is spin? How much is framing? How much is just plain human bullshit? Why are all of the news corporations owned by the same companies? Look it up. There's like 6 corporations. They're all owned by why?
That's why they send out all the same stories.
This is why independent news sources are always shut down. Because if it's not scripted the way the government wants you to hear it, then you're not going to hear
Freedom
it.
of speech is never real.
It's not. Freedom of speech does not exist. That's why we're out here doing it.
Please, we have to say.
You have to have a healthy amount of skepticism in life. Because at what point does your blind trust become a danger to you and everybody else?
The next generations are fucked.
Yeah. Think for yourself, bitch. We are not here to tell you what to believe. We are here to stir the pot, hand you the ladle, and let you taste it for yourself, bitch. So drop your theories and thoughts in the comments. I really want to know, what is your favorite hidden in plain sight stories that you want us to cover? And as always, tell your friends and tell your ex because it's Chadderbox, bitch.
And if you have moments,
Tell your dog, tell your cat, tell your bearded dragon, tell your lizard, tell your dinosaur, tell your snake. It's a bison.
I know, but they're a buffalo.
Tell the buffalo!
In Africa.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Love you, bye!